Welcome to Mighty Filmmakers Podcast, Rain Dance Film Festival episodes. My name is Asatuurs, and somehow I ended up on this side of our setup.
We flipped over, haven't we?
Yeah, you did. What happened is we have Charlie, Robb, and Douglas Tawn with us today. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk 5 steps of filmmaking. And let's see how it works when we have 2 people here trying to tell us about the process, and let's see how do they gel. How does it work? Or do you gel though?
Do we gel? We use gel.
Yeah.
But
I can see.
it's actually marred.
Yeah. Below the belt.
Below the belt. Sorry, we will actually try to be coherent in this interview. But we do. So we both directed Lona, which is here at Rain Dance, and Doug and I, we've been working since we were about 18. We met at university, and we did lots of comedy writing. And when you do live comedy and you perform comedy, you're acting, you're usually directing, producing, and everything else in between. So we have been very much finishing each other's
Gel
sandwiches.
Oh, yeah. God. Almost worked, though. Almost there. So what is your project? What project are you here with at Rain Dance?
So our film's called Lona. We directed it, and I wrote it and I star in it alongside Kat Johns-Burke, who's wonderful. And it's a folk horror found footage film. And we've just been admiring your incredible setup here, which is definitely a bigger, better production than we had on Lona, that's for sure.
Shall we make a film?
I think so.
Yeah, I think
now,
we're
here.
We're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it right now.
Yeah. Horror podcast.
Horror podcast. I'm sure there's plenty of those out there.
I found audio.
So found audio.
Yeah.
Oh, listen.
Yeah.
I think that's called radio. But
It's like Uber just invented a bus recently. Have you heard of that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, right.
No, apparently.
Uber.
Yeah. Apparently in US now you can go to a specific allocated spot, wait for Uber to arrive, then they're going to pick you up, and then they're going to take you to another specific allocated spot.
Innovation.
Right. Yeah,
That's great,
that's
isn't it?
changing
Yeah.
the wheel,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously comment section there was the best ththing ever because everybody's saying, oh, okay, is it that thing where you actually pick up some people and then you fly in this kind of thing, and then and, all that good stuff basically. So reinventing.
Yeah,
Reinventing.
an Uber that goes underground, maybe.
Oh, yes.
In a large city, perhaps could work.
Yeah, like a tube.
Yeah.
Like a long tube.
Tuber.
You know? Oh,
Yeah.
tuber.
Not just the
Tuber.
instrument. Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay, we've.
Sorry, this is awful.
Yeah.
No, let's
We've got a terrible chat this morning.
Let's get to your 5 steps then. How do you work together? That's what we want to know. And what positions did you fill basically during the production of this specific movie? And
Yeah.
let's just start there.
I'd say, so as Charlie described earlier, we have always worked in tandem. We've always gelled and worked, primarily originally in live comedy and things where you're sort of directing each other and performing and things. I mean, this is a slight departure for us because we normally write together as well. But Charlie went and wrote a brilliant script for this film on his own. And it was one that I think really lent itself to being our first feature as well, because it's all one voice, essentially. Charlie is in most of the film, although we do have Kat, as he mentioned, and he's fantastic. But what we have in the film is a sense that we've got one character, one long monologue, essentially, with loads of scary mental stuff going on. But it meant that we've got Charlie in control of his performance, and, he's operating the camera a lot of the time as well in the found footage thing. So, where I come in, I think, is just being the extra pair of eyes to support Charlie, help him realise that vision, kind of make sure that you're okay, and let you know that, yes, you nailed that take, for example. But, I think it was because we've got like a team of 10 essentially on set. Everyone's wearing multiple hats. Everyone's doing multiple jobs. I mean, that's independent filmmaking. You've just got a multi-role.
Yeah. And I do think Doug is doing himself a major disservice. He's a fantastic director.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. He's being very humble.
He is. So a bit of background about the film. So Lona, it's as you said, it's a found footage film. It's about an aspiring vlogger called Angus who wins a getaway to a remote, very bougie, flat pack cabin in the wilderness in Northumbria. and he goes out there to start making outdoorsy sort of survival wilderness content, armed with all his GoPros and a Sony A7 and like 3-4 shopping bags full of like ridiculous shopping. So he's got very much dipping a toe in the wilderness, but with lots of home comforts. And whilst he's there, there's a sort of ancient pre-Celtic force of nature, deity that is keeping him there and holding him captive. And it's sort of about how he unravels, but it's mainly a one-person, sort of one-character film. Now, the sort of cautionary tale in there is you can't do anything of a huge sort of scale on your own. And so we all knew going into this that no one can just be sort of left alone. So Doug and I have been writing, directing. We've got one small brain between us. And we just have very much a telepathy between us, and also our DP, George, who was a very old school friend of Doug's as well. So it was very easy to sort of like, a lot of preparation leading up to the film and rehearsals and writing. And writing definitely helped me with performance, but I did really need Doug. There was no way I could have done anything on my own. And Doug, rehearsed scenes with us. He led us there. And as Doug said, like when you are in the middle of a forest at like 2:00 in the morning, you do need someone to be like, okay, we're doing a scene, but is everyone safe and okay? So yeah, like everyone just chipped in and just switched roles and just played wherever they needed to be. But Doug's fantastic director. I love directing stuff with him too, so it was great.
I think that's another really interesting thing as well, is that when sometimes the trick of directing there, sorry, I was worried about clipping. Sometimes the thing with directing in those circumstances as well is actually knowing when to step back. So like when we were filming stuff 3 a.m, everyone's knackered, we're doing a quite complicated set piece, and we've got our exhausted, freezing cold lead actress who's brandishing an axe and freezing in the woods, and there's a few dangerous things that could happen. Sometimes that was just like, all right, I think we've got this, we don't need 2 directors chipping in ideas, I'm just going to stand back, make sure everyone's got a coffee. So there's a sense of, but then after shooting that scene, you're pretty tired the next morning, so maybe taking a bit more of a sort of jumping in and taking the reins a bit there. So it was definitely a bit of a given.
I guess a lot of the time. So for example, through these podcast interviews, some of the filmmakers, what they say is they would really like to find somebody to collaborate with on that level, what you're describing right now. So, and it's not easy. So I guess, how do you set up your collaboration, and do you have any specific kind of rules which you worked out for yourself? Who's doing what, or how do you benefit from each other, basically, when you set up your project?
So there are no written rules at all. It's all about just what we find fun and what works for us. And there's no pressure at all, because the main thing is that I find him to be the funniest person in the entire world. When we met,
it's mutual.
Of course it is.
I find myself hilarious.
See what I mean? But when we met at uni, we saw each other in shows. He was in one play. That was terrible, but he was the funniest, best bit in it. There were people literally walking out of the door ready to sack off everything, and then he was just sort of improving, ad-libbing for about 20 minutes, and then people turned away from the door and went back to their seats. And then Doug saw me in a show the week after.
I went to see it twice,
and
because of him.
This is what we do.
This is fate.
We have to constantly be each other's cheerleaders, because there's no one else.
We're quite good at it, though. We will. Half of our meetings are amping each other up.
It's all very exciting, but I'm trying to figure out what is the first step then. Okay, so
I think it's 10 years of trying to do stuff together and really getting to know each other. I think it's something you can't necessarily sort of artificially create very quickly. And I think one of the great things we've got is we've got each other. Best thing, it's always the thing. But we have, over time, just built a very small group of people who we love working with and who are similarly on our wavelengths and who we can trust in that same way. So while it's always starting with Charlie and me, like Charlie mentioned, our cinematographer George, we've done a few projects with him already, and we know that he's someone that is going to get it, and we're not going to have to spend 2 hours explaining our ideas to him. Same with our producer Dylan. So it's been sort of slowly, through experience, building those people until you can make a film with them.
Okay, so maybe it's building trust through experience, maybe?
Definitely, and also through like trauma, because we have been at the Edinburgh Fringe and done shows to like 2 people in the audience, my
Here we
mum
go.
and someone from a theatre, and they just started chatting for the entire show, and then they exchanged emails because they had the same interests, and my mum and this person from a theatre were networking as we were trying to do a show to an otherwise empty auditorium. And I think experiences like that really bring you together.
Well, you bring people together. You see, your mom found a new friend. That's brilliant.
That's
She definitely did find a friend, and I found 2 more enemies that day. But I think like for any sort of advice for looking for collaboration, it really doesn't matter their sort of technical skill to begin with, or qualifications or background. If you really, really love that, spending time with that person, you love the same films, you've got exactly the same stupid sense of humour. You, I don't know, you just, as soon as you have an idea, you race to tell that person because it's more exciting to share it rather than keep it within you. And then you start, just generating something, a script or an idea or whatever. That's a great person. And all the technical experience will come through failing and through time, but it's really important to find someone you can have a long-lasting friendship, because it's a long career. There will be many pitfalls and mistakes. It is so reassuring to have someone that you do really love alongside you, just as a friend. So,
Beautiful.
But
That's beautiful.
it is true.
Starts with friendship.
Don't worry out there if you're like, I need to work with, a top-level producer, or I need a writer who's part of this group or who's got these accolades. Don't worry about that. You might be in a bar or a pub or a 5-a-side football match or something, and then you just find someone that you got similar interests, and that's more important than anything else you need to worry about.
Genuinely, when it's 3 a.m. and you're out in the woods, everyone's freezing, everyone's hungry, everyone's tired, you're going to care less about someone's technical experience and more about they're a good person to hang out with, and they're not going to freak out, and you're all going to get on and still be friends at the end of it. We've got I won't name any names, but a guy we've been working with,
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Mentor of ours, who's given some very good advice. I mean, when we finished, he just said, "It's amazing. You guys have made a feature film, and you're still talking to each other. That's a huge achievement." It's like,
I think that's great. That's great. What you just described is actually, look for somebody you gel with. Look for somebody who is good for you, basically, and then everything else will fall in place. I think that's good.
Pretty much. Yeah, everything's so much easier. Feels natural. If it feels natural, then things will come easier. And like, as you said, you asked about, are there any rules? And there are no rules. We love writing together. And anything we go away and write independently. So I wrote Lona independently because we'd written loads of feature film scripts, but we were kept on hitting a very exciting wall where we needed a bigger budget, and it was slowing things down. And then Doug very excitingly went away to Antarctica with his wife, which was really cool. But we were out of contact for a few weeks. So I thought, well, I want to hit the ground running next year. I have this idea for a folk horror sort of one-person kind of found footage thing. And we love mockumentaries, so like the handheld verite and the found footage went really well together. So I wrote the script. It was very short. I think to begin with it was like 50 pages or something, because it is kind of just like my character continued voiceover, whatever. And then, I showed it to Doug, and he really just like was like, yeah, this is great. And like, I don't think I need to involve myself anymore. I obviously had great feedback, and, I redrafted the script, but very lucky also in a collaboration to like present something and, be accepted for it as well.
Yeah, not going to force myself into that, especially for the film of this format, where it's essentially a monologue for the whole thing, with a couple of exceptions. You don't really need 2 voices writing that. It feels like the best way to capture the character is to let one writer sort of handle that, and then chip in a few notes and let it run.
I really like what you're saying, and you said it a couple of times already, is feeling when to step back. And I think that's a brilliant second step, I guess, could be, because it's so important to realize when is enough and when you need to give space to others, and when your input is crucial and really needed and helpful.
Absolutely,
so how do you do that? How do you know that, okay, so now this is the place for me to say no, or to step back and allow the partner to do stuff?
I think part of it is just necessity, and I think if I broaden that out to just generally like both our combined input and individually, it's when you're making a film like this, a low budget independent feature with a very tight schedule, it's a sort of perfect is the enemy of good situation where like, okay, well we could do 10 takes of this, and then not shoot anything else all day. Well, that's not a luxury we have. So let's capture the energy that we have here and make sure it's all, everything's technically good and we're getting everything we need. Get the good coverage, but don't overwork it, because actually like this film is so sort of built on this immediacy and the objectivity of the camera and the kind of rough and ready sort of sense of found footage. So, and just, I was talking to someone the other day about, there's a scene in the film where Charlie gives, I think, the Oscar-winning speech. And I can say that.
He's such a sweetie.
But it's
I'll give you 20 quid later.
it's an extraordinary performance. And I was trying to remember how many takes we did of it. And I'm pretty sure all the way through, because it is a oneer, I think we did one. Because...
I can't remember. I think we wouldn't have done more than two, because I was absolutely knackered.
It was just like, how could we make him go through that again? And like, why would we? Because he's just nailed it. And, that's where it is. You think, great, we've got this amazing thing on tape, and let's move on to the next bit. So sometimes the stepping back is just being able to recognize that what you've got is great, and just be able to move on from there. And I think the same thing with all the post-production stuff. We've always been very heavily involved always in the editing room, always in the dubbing theatre or the grading suite, but trusting that the people you're working with are the best at it, and you can sort of plant the seed, but they're going to do what they're going to do, and then you just say,
exactly.
Yeah,
I think obviously everything Doug said, I agree with. I have to. We wrote it in the contract, but but I think key there is listening. You have to listen to other people. That's when you know that your whatever you're about to say is probably going to harm whatever the problem in front of you is. We didn't go to film school. As I say, we just learned writing through doing live comedy, and then switched into short film and feature. And we love directing because we just love comedy shows and theatre and film, and that sort of love for it came out through there. So we know when we're talking, it's about that, and it's coming from a vision, but we also know when we have to shut the hell up, because that camera person did go to film school, and they've worked on multiple jobs, and they know what they're doing. So does the gaffer, so did the first AD. Like, there was never a hierarchy in the film. It was like, everyone digs the project, they're very excited about it, and like, we're all good friends. But we will say what we want, but we will listen very carefully, or the best that we can. And that's why we didn't really have any arguments or fallouts. And also what Doug said is we didn't have the time to become precious about anything. So you've got to listen to other people. You've got to respect your crew. Just because you're the director or the writer, whatever, doesn't actually mean that your opinion will be helpful most of the time. And even though we were in the edit and obviously the grade and everything, it's because we really enjoy the process. But a lot of the time we would be at the back chewing a bagel, being like, keep it up, you're doing great. I could never do that, carry on. So like, yeah, it's sort of overseeing and like making sure everything's okay, but like directing, stepping back, letting proper experienced people do what they have to do, rather than sort of micromanaging. Yeah, that's probably the best thing.
And then very occasionally the Orson Welles effect, where you break the rules because you don't know what they are, and you get something great. But like, you need to have people who know what the rules are to say, no, you just can't do that. Like,
so I can clearly see now there is kind of some ideas of going through the process kind of blind a little bit, and maybe that's great actually, in a sense, because that allows you to see. Yeah, blind, but see at the same time what you would never discover yourself, just purely because if you are on your own, all responsibilities on your shoulders, and everybody is trusting your specific vision. So what I want to ask you is, in classical way, some of you, well, for example, one of you would be maybe responsible for directing actors, or maybe one of you would be responsible for main vision and picture of the film. So how does that work in your collaboration?
Very, very interesting question. As this is our first feature film, we can't say whether we have any sort of principle for how we work from now on. it very much came out of, just experiencing for the first time. But I'd say we both were very equally preparing together. And then we were rehearsing together. But again, I knew when I was like, okay, I'm an actor right now. Doug is leading the direction here. But then in between takes, we would talk together and we'd discuss shots. And then I'd go away and maybe I'd speak with Kat as Doug was handling, talking with the DP and our producer Dylan and looking at the monitor and sort of taking charge of what's going on behind the scenes. And I could have a bit more of an intimate sort of actory chat with whoever I was doing a scene with. In the few scenes I do, speak with someone else.
Would you say it was more kind of fluid approach and it changed as well constantly?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would say, because I think I'd on a more general level, I would say Charlie is also a fantastic artist. We should look him up, Charlie Robb Art. But Charlie's got a great eye. And, we're both very interested in the visual language of filmmaking, and that's a great part of directing. I would say I do tend to defer. We often chip in ideas together, but, when it comes to the vision stuff and getting the perfect frame and so on, I think, I would say my inclination is to defer to Charles, but it's always collaborative and fluid as well. And as Charlie said, we would set things up together and talk about it. And, I think as we say, we don't have an established way of working because this is our debut feature. When we did our previous short film, it was a two-hander. We were both acting in it, and it was sort of shot, reverse shot. And it was basically, I'll direct your bit, you direct my bit. We'll both look at the wide, so it was very,
So how could we summarize this specific process you had? Because that's your experience so far. And obviously this process most likely will never be repeated, even in your own productions. Or maybe it will be, who knows? We'll see with your next film and we'll speak again. And then we'll see what happens with you and how you do it next time. But right now at this moment, what would you say, what would you suggest people to do? So collaborators, how do you split the workload, basically?
Well, I think accept that it's not going to be equal 50-50 every single time. I also think that, again, can only speak about the nature of this film, which was found footage, and therefore we could take a few more risks and liberties with the scale and the photography, which really adds to the sort of rawness of the picture. But I think that you need to have a good sense of humour, because you will be shot down for your ideas, and you need to have a sort of a lightness, a levity. It's not a contract. It's not a immovable object, an unstoppable force. You have to be sort of gentle with yourself and gentle with each other, and be light about everything, because there will be times where you're not feeling it and another person has to. It's like being in a relationship. And I knew we would get to talking about how...
Here we go.
He's getting married soon and it's broken my heart.
Yeah, not to him, unfortunately. He's already married though. He beat me to it. But I think...
Lightness. I really like what you said, lightness.
You have
be
to be
light with your decisions.
You have to be light, and you have to be light with the problems as well, because there's going to be so many problems, and not all of them are catastrophes. They might look like it in the middle of everything. You're surrounded by all these people looking at you, but actually they're your mates, they're your teammates. They want the same thing out of you. And I think if you're listening to other people and you know that you're hearing other ideas and you're sort of channeling other ideas, and you're making the best decision for the future. It's not about you being right now.
Yeah, it's ego death. In a good way.
It's very humbling trying to make a film.
Yeah, if you park your ego, and it's about the best idea winning, not your idea, and not you being like, well, I have the role of director, therefore, and co-director, therefore I must be contributing 50% of the decisions or whatever it is. I mean, it's sort of, you take a molecule of water, there's twice as much hydrogen as there is oxygen. Does that make that more important in the molecule? No, it's like, they're both water. That's how it happens. So, you got to sorry, I got a bit abstract there, but it's, you've got to work on the basis that it's the project that leads it, and you make the best decisions for the project. So as we say, this one has its own set of circumstances. The next one will have a different set of circumstances where, that our dynamic might shift or whatever, but it's about recognizing that the project comes first, and then your roles fit into that.
So we can definitely make step number 3, be light with your decisions, or be light with your problems even as well.
And this isn't to say, like, we have had arguments and we have had times where we could not meet on the same thing. And but I think just when you spend enough time with that person, you realise that nothing is achieved in having those arguments, and then out of actually something better comes. So your ideas are worth it, but you need to be light with them, and you need to be able to see that your first idea might not be the one. And if you feel a rise in sort of indignation where it's like, well, I need to be heard, or I need to do this, just let that settle down for a bit, because it might not be the right energy. So be light. Be light.
Would you say working together is less scary?
Oh, definitely.
More scary.
More scary.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's. No,
it's not.
I think because making a debut feature on a micro budget is terrifying, and I think especially as a director, I think you have a very interesting role on set, because you might be it might be 2 years between your previous project and the one you're doing now. You might have had a huge gap while you're doing other jobs, trying to make ends meet and stuff. Everyone else on set is working all the time. Everyone else is on set all the time. So you step in to lead that group, and actually you might feel a bit rusty, or a little like, actually, well, this was all in my head previously, but now I'm on set and people are asking me what to do. And that's a very daunting thing. And I think that's one of the main skills of directing, is being able to actually just assume the role. But it's so much better when there's 2 of you, and you can share that, and you've got backup from your best mate who's also there, and you can field questions together, and you can tag team a bit, and so I think it does reduce the fear by 50%.
I agree, and like as we were saying, loner. It's all about how you need other people. You can't do everything on your own, and I think it's just more fun. It is just more fun making something with your mate. And they remind you to have a sense of humour, like don't take it all too, so don't get into your own head, and like share it with someone else. It makes it way more fun. Like,
how do you specifically go about issues and problems you're having, or disagreements, for example? How do you solve that as a kind of a pair?
Yeah. I torture small animals in off screen. I go back and just.
I torture his voodoo doll.
Yeah, work it out. I think it's about the lightness, about remembering the friendship, and just being like, actually, it's like any kind of conflict resolution or confronting a difficult thing. There's not like a set way of doing it. It's knowing the person you're working with, and it's making it sound like we were falling out the whole time. That's the whole point. We weren't. But it's being just you could, if you know someone well, you can read their signals. You can go, all right, we're clearly getting a bit tired, or we should have a break here, or whatever, or we can.
Do you know what? Getting tired is such a common denominator to leading to stupid arguments that are so avoidable. And this is in life as well. Like I get really annoyed maybe at the end of the day by stuff I have dealt with before. In my life, it's just when you are tired, and you do get tired a lot when you are working on set. This is making me sound so pathetic, but it is an exhausting business, and like, trying to be creative and on all the time or whatever, you will start to fatigue, and you'll have decision fatigue. Decision fatigue. So it's like, just know, this is like, treat yourself like a toddler. Know when you're hungry, know when you're tired, know when you're actually not being very sociable. Sort yourself out, and then come back to talking about it.
Treat yourself like a toddler. Yeah. Let's put that on.
Yeah,
Let's put that
that's
on.
Real nice.
I mean,
and I'd say
that's going to be number 4. That's a good one.
Treat yourself like a toddler. Like, just, are you being helpful right now? Are you throwing a tantrum? Are you having a strop? Is it because actually you're tired? And I think a lot of people, they argue about creative decisions because they don't think that they're being heard, or that they're being creative enough. And it's like, no one else is thinking that. You're starting to become a bit sort of doubtful and paranoid, and that does come out of like just like not resting. So look after yourself before, and like don't put pressure on yourself to constantly have the last word, or have a new idea, or improve upon an idea that might not need improving. So like, if you're tired, go away and rest, have a snack, just chill out for a bit, and then maybe pick it back up. This sounds a bit reductive, but I think that works.
And
for
this
me.
is all from a position of we didn't run into these problems much on Loner. I think it was a very happy set and in a production because we were very sensitive to all these things. And huge credit to our producer Dylan as well. We had a very small team who we were asking a lot of, but Dylan is so good at making sure everyone's taken care of. And our production manager Max, who cooked everyone's meals. And I think, you know, we were on a tiny budget, tiny team. Everyone on the crew seemed very, very happy because they were better fed than most production crews are.
Yeah,
and people had come from much bigger jobs saying, oh yeah, I had like a co-op ready meal that wasn't properly heated through every day for 2 weeks, and now they're on ours and they're eating like a king. And it made such a difference, you know, and just making sure everyone's well fed, well rested, well looked after and listened to. And that was something that we were obviously very conscious of, but also Dylan was fantastic because he's got a lot of experience working with crews and as part of a crew, and so he was very sensitive to what people need, when you're asking too much, how far you can take things, and yeah, that was a real nice thing.
How did your team actually receive you as 2-in-1? How did they communicate with you? Was it confusing sometimes, or it wasn't, or did they feel like they know who they address with like specific questions, and how does that side of collaboration worked out for you?
That's a good question.
It's a very good question. There wasn't any of that sort of confusion, to be honest, because there'd be clear moments where it's like, okay, I need to be in makeup. And I would chat with our makeup artist, Rebecca Wheeler, and Kaz Walters, who are amazing. I'd be talking to them about, you know, what the makeup should look like and where's the prosthetic going, and we'll talk through that scene. But I'd also just shut up, have a Kit Kat, have a cup of coffee, and just let them do their work. Meanwhile, Doug will be answering set questions and things like that. So there were just very clear moments as to when I might be needed to sort of like just shut up, be in actor mode, get ready for the scene. And then there'll be clear moments in between takes where we would talk with our DP George, we'd talk with Dylan, our producer, and it was always a discussion. It wasn't like a sort of, I'm not taking questions, you know, because I'm an actor. There was just like never any confusion about that. It was always a discussion we shared between everyone. If anyone had a question, they could ask anyone, and it would go to us, or would speak to Dylan, or we'd speak to George. It was, because I think that's the benefit of having a small crew like that, out of necessity, obviously, but it really did mean that whatever question needed to be asked or talked about, we could properly talk about it with Eric, because everyone was an HOD, and everyone could throw their hat in the ring. And you know, we were never really too far, so we could always chat about something. But I would like definitely stay back if Doug needed to make an executive call. Likewise, if I thought like, no, we need to put the camera here because this is, and I have an idea for how this scene's going to go, Doug would very graciously be like, cool, George, you happy with that? Let's go. So yeah, small team, listening to each other. That's it.
Would you say small team but by what I see right now, and you correct me if I'm wrong, sharing the position of like heads of department between more than one person in each position, it looks like it creates kind of even more sort of grounds for collaborative approach.
Yeah.
And it allows it allows more freedom for people to express themselves and to actually try and make things happen. But what do you think? How would it affect your project if you would have huge budget behind your back?
Very good question. It'd be a different project for one thing. I think. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, this whole project was conceived to look like something that a guy has gone into the woods and filmed on his own. You know, so I think there's very much a sense of the way Charlie crafted the script. Was a beautiful way of leaning into the limitations we have. I think that might be one of the steps. Embrace your limitations.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because, if we'd had millions of pounds, we'd have made a different film. We'd have made a film that you need millions of pounds to make. And I think that's the beauty of this one. Do
you think collaboration would work out in exactly the same way? Do you think the dynamics on set would be like you described, when you are able to have a coffee in the background and say, this is great, I like what you're doing? or actually that money would push your collaboration into more controlled kind of...
I think we should be clear about whether it's money that's influential there, or whether it's a sort of more of a studio executive structure, because I think that, and also how big is that budget we're talking about, and where is it coming from? Because I imagine if you are making something for $180 million, you do have less contact time with the people that you really like. But if you are making something for 500k, then you probably do have a smaller team, but that money is going more on screen or more into marketing. So, but I think that personally it should be every director's aim to have that relationship and that ethos, being able to comfortably talk with people, to listen to them, do the rounds around a set if they can. I mean, they don't have to be some, cult leader, because that's weird. But but I think it's down to the director to understand their job, and also keep the set positive, happy, and include people. No matter how much money you get, you can decide whether you're going to do that or be a dick.
You hear of some directors who direct from the trailer, and they're never on set.
Yeah.
They've just got the monitor, and you don't want to be that guy, because then you're not really involved in making the film. I think
What was it? You said, Douglas, something before. You said that fifth step.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, embrace your
limitations.
Embrace your limitations.
That has been the most powerful engine to everything we've done with this film.
Yeah.
If we had a bigger budget, I do not think that Lona would be as good. Everything that we've done, we've really had to force ourselves to dig deep and be really as creative as we can. We had to give ourselves tight time constraints, so we knew we couldn't overwork shots. We had to work a lot with friends who would accept maybe a lower day rate, but who we really trusted and would stick with us when it's 5 o'clock in the morning. We still have 10 minutes to do or whatever. And it was made out of a lot of love that way. And we finished Lona, we got into the wonderful Rain Dance, which is an incredible dream come true for us. It's been so rewarding and gratifying for everything that we've done. But we were immediately approached by PR companies as soon as they heard that we were nominated. And, they very politely, I don't think without ever watching the film, but put forward what their fee would be. And it was half of the budget of our film. And so we were like, right, well, here we go again. We're back on set. We're in London. But it's that mentality of we'll do our marketing ourselves. So we made the trailer, the posters, through Dan Yates and Ryan Forrest, who are amazing friends, but they help us with design. And we're like, okay, we're going to do it ourselves again. And we sold out our audiences, and we've got good reviews. So I think that money is not the answer to making a better film. And actually, it will be a lot more work, but you will discover new things you didn't think that you were capable of. This is very motivational, isn't it?
No, but that's great. That's great.
It's so true. And actually, if you do want to just make a film, and you don't want to wait around for anyone, because, a part of this came out of an impetus that we had. We had written a few feature scripts, and we will make them, but we were having to hang around for people, and it sort of delayed us. And this was just what's the one thing we can go away and do? We're free. We can just go and do it. And this was it. And it meant that boom, 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 boom.
And we probably ended up making it for a slightly bigger budget than we imagined, because we just went in with that plan of we will just do it. And once you're doing it, you can attract a bit more, support and things. And, I think definitely it has to be a small budget to make this project work. But I think the impetus of you've just got what you've got, lean into that, will actually attract talent and attract support in a way so much more effective than making a pitch document saying, give me £10 million to make my film. Also, you've never heard of me. That. It's.
I have to say, thank you, Charlie and Douglas, for this conversation.
My pleasure.
It was great. And hopefully we'll see you soon with your next project, and then we'll be able to explore and compare and have a longer conversation about your work as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And I hope to see you soon.
Likewise, mate. Thank you very much. So our 5 steps for filmmaking. Number 1, building trust.
Number 2, know when to step back.
Number 3, be light with your decisions.
Number 4, treat yourself like a toddler.
Number 5, embrace your limitations.
Thank you. Well done.
Well done, everyone. Well done, Doug.